Shalom, I'm Stephen Krauss, Education Consultant at JESNA. Welcome to the first of a series of interviews with innovative Jewish educational leaders. The purpose of this series is to provide an eye-opening glimpse into some new approaches designed to provide quality Jewish education to different key stakeholders. We're conducting these interviews for two purposes. The first and most immediate one is to catalyze thinking and dreaming for leaders in different communities that are partnering with JESNA on our WOW project. The second and larger purpose is to create an online video catalog describing innovative thinking and projects in Jewish education that will be posted on the Jewish website for all those who are interested to view. Our guest today is Robert Lichtman, Executive Director of the Partnership for Jewish Learning and Life in Metro West, New Jersey. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I'm very honored to be here, actually, and excited to be your first guest.
Great, thank you. I mentioned the WOW project a few moments ago. The WOW project is a joint initiative of JESNA and the Association of Directors of Central Agencies, known to us generally by its acronym ADCA. The goal of the WOW project is to engage greater numbers of children and families in satisfying and impactful supplementary Jewish educational experiences by enhancing what currently exists and developing a broad range of programs using both traditional and non-traditional approaches. Three of its key guiding principles are, number one, that the focus be on learners, our end users. Number two, that the WOW project employs a community approach made up of the coalitions of willing, the institutions, the organizations, the individuals who want to work together to ensure that the community can provide the best and broadest Jewish educational offerings to meet the needs of their learners. And finally, we want the central agency, the Bureau, in your case, the Partnership for Jewish Learning and Life, to have a key role as a convener, catalyst, and capacity builder. With that background in place, I'd like to turn to Bob now and ask him a few questions. The first one, Bob, is please tell us what are the goals and guiding principles of your agency and how similar are they to the WOW approach?
Okay. I'm very happy to answer, and I just want to take this opportunity to say two things at the outset. One is, I'm speaking to you from the community that brought the world to Philip Roth. And to Columbus, I want to say, hello, Columbus. The second thing is, I'm really I'm very humbled by this. I have to say, innovation is a very, very big word, and what we're trying to do in Metro West, you may call it innovation. What we're trying to do is take the best of the learning that we know that appears in our world, whether it's in the education world or in the Jewish world, and apply it to our goals here, which is to bring Jewish learning to life for young people. The focus of our agency is on young people from early childhood through the teenage years, and we were really given the blessing of, this is a bit of background, to create a whole new environment here at Metro West with the creation of this new agency. We're just beginning our 5th year here as the Partnership for Jewish Learning and Life. So when you create a new agency, you create everything from the name, which we can get into, to its mission, which was pretty much set for us by the community through a very thorough planning process, to its principles of practice, which is what I want to get to now in direct answer to your question. We've developed, regardless of what programs we're actually implementing here, Steve, principles of practice that guide us in our work every day, whether we're working with teens or early childhood, or if we grow over the years to work with other cohorts. And if you want to know what guides us and where it's similar to the WOW project, I would say many of them are similar. Maybe we'll post the principles separately, or you can go to the partnership website, which is where they're posted. But specifically, I'll tell you, out of 7 principles, principle number 3 is as follows. Our focus is on the learner. Now, what it doesn't say is not the institution. And it's very important to explain what this means. When we say our focus is on the learner, it doesn't mean we're ignoring the institution. It means when we're taking a snapshot of the learner and his or her environment, within that snapshot are institutions, some of which we're working very, very diligently to help them improve. Some of which we're supporting because they're already excellent. but our focus is on the learner and how he or she may or may not interact with those institutes. The other thing that I think is similar to the WOW project in Columbus is our principle number 4. Our mandate is the entire community. And that means hearkening back to, I'd say, the way Moses established a covenant with the people of Israel on Mount Sinai. He said, this covenant is not only with me and you, not only with those of you who are here today, but those of you who are not here. Those of you in the future will fall under this covenant. And I would say we've got the same perspective here in Metro West, which is our covenant, our promise, our commitment is not only to working with the students who are in whatever venues they're in now, but actually aggressively and creatively trying to reach those who are not within those frameworks. So again, our focus is on the learner wherever he or she may be. That's how I guess I would start, and if you've got questions to react to these 2 of the 7 principles and the way they relate to the WOW project, I'd be happy to answer. And I'll just say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, parenthetically, I looked at some of the WOW, I looked at some of the material that you sent me in advance about what Columbus is doing. And I would just, I would react to one thing that I saw, which is that it's about engaging greater numbers of children and families, which is very, very important. And by the way, one of our principles also, number 5, is family is the fundamental building block of Jewish identity, values, and practice. So involving the families is critical. It's not just about the learner that's in front of us, but the family that surrounds that learner. And making, by the way, the whole family the learner. But it's focusing on supplementary Jewish education. So right away, it almost compromises the focus on the learner by saying, we're going to focus on the learner in this venue, in supplementary education. And what I'm hoping will emerge from the WOW project is to say, yes, we're focusing on this learner in supplementary education and trying to figure out how we can supplement that supplementary education with these other kinds of experiences that don't necessarily take place within that framework. In other words, how to connect the child in that supplementary venue with his or her youth group. How to connect that child with an experience in a Jewish camp. How to connect that child with an experience in Israel. That's really a focus on the learner, starting where he or she is at, in this case, in the supplementary environment. But really, if the focus is on the learner, it's about how to connect that learner to other, as they call it in Columbus, other traditional or non-traditional experiences, which may take that learner ultimately outside the supplementary framework. And we hope that everybody's going to be okay with that because the focus is on the learner.
Great. Thank you for that clarification and Eitzah advice. I want to try to come a little bit down from the abstract, what we often call the 30,000-foot observation tower, and ask you how you've taken those guiding principles and you've adopted it in certain age groups. And in particular, I want you to spend a few moments talking about what you've been able to do with your guiding principles and translate that into action working in Metro West with supporting teens on their Jewish journeys.
Okay. So again, if we're focusing on the learner, and we've identified in the case that you're asking me about the teen as a learner, one of the things that we did was when we re-envisioned this new organization, we didn't set up our departments the way that it was done in the past, here at least. I don't know if other communities it's done the same way, but we were focusing on what was here. We don't focus on congregational education as a separate pillar. We don't focus on day school as a separate pillar. We may have initiatives that are more appropriate to congregational school or day school or Jewish camp, by the way, which is a new opportunity for us because we're focused on the learner and not on the venue. We can think about all these possible venues which may touch the learner, including Jewish camp, which many central agencies traditionally have not been focusing on because they've been focusing on the institution rather than the learner. But when you think about the learner and the way he or she moves through different venues, supplementary school or the day school, and by the way, a congregational experience, not just congregational school, but going to shul on Shabbos, That's an unbelievable, potentially powerful educational experience. How do you connect that same learner there? Then that same learner goes to a youth program in that same shul on a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday. How do you connect? How do you follow that learner? Camp as well. That same learner that we're focusing on for 10 months in the year, for 1 or 2 months, is going to be in a Jewish summer camp, hopefully, and there are possibilities to connect the learner there also. So what we did was we created a department called Preteens and Teens. And everything that can touch a preteen or a teen falls under that department, whether it's mitzvah fair or Jewish service learning or our high school learning program or programs that we do that embed our high school learning program in other synagogue high school learning programs. That's how we follow the learner. And if you look at our website, we've tried to translate that kind of environment onto the website. But we've created a special mini site within the partnership website, so go directly there. It's www.jteenmw.org. Now, JTeen isn't just a cute name for Jewish teenagers. JTeen actually is an acronym that really describes what our philosophy is. JTeen stands for Jewish Teen Educational Experiences Network. Because the philosophy is that everything a teen does within this framework, if it's a youth group, or a summer camp, or a congregational school, or a day school, or Jewish service learning, it's an educational experience. And if we can get everyone who's touching this teen to think about it not as a project or a program, but as an educational experience that could potentially carry this learner from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 along his or her Jewish journey, wherever he or she wants to go. That's our job, to create these seamless connections from one educational experience to another, to help the teen think through where he or she may want to go next, to help clear the path, make these connections, to support the teen on his or her journey, wherever he or she wants to go. So that's why we've translated it internally, jteenmw.org. That's the way our agency is set up. And that's the way we're trying to speak when we go to the community. So as I said, we've got a if you're looking at what's happening in Metro West, those of you who are following, for example, the day school world, you know that in Metro West we've got a very, very ambitious program that's focused on day schools. And we're very, very proud of it, and we know it's about day schools. But it's within the preteen and teen department, and the people who work on the day school initiative are also interacting every day with our Jewish service learning person who's working with teens, with our Jewish educator who's working with teens, with our Jewish camp person who's working with teens, so that the teen in the day school feels connected to all these other opportunities as well. So that's one example that you've asked me in terms of the way it's being played out in terms of teens.
And in terms of your other areas, you said early childhood through teens. So whatever particular, how are you dividing the age cohorts?
Okay, it's a little bit fuzzy there. We initially created a department called Early Childhood Initiatives, and we very soon renamed it, because what we did was, this is a history that you may or may not be interested in, but it's for posterity, so I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 minute on it. We didn't develop this agency de novo. There was an organization here that existed for, almost 70 years, called the Jewish Education Association. It was very, very valuable. And one of the things the JEA had was a network of early childhood educators that met here every month for literally 25 years. And what we did was we maintained that group of early childhood educators, but we took an agenda, put a mission in the middle of that group, and we said, if you're going to meet here every month, and you're welcome to come meeting here for another 25 years, this is what we want to focus on. We want to focus on family engagement. And we call it Teach the Child, Reach the Family. By the way, going back to, we try to come up with a phrase that kind of encapsulates what we're doing. So for teens, everything we're doing is called Jewish Learning is Fun, seriously. In other words, you can learn and have fun at the same time. So with early childhood and family engagement, we're calling it Teach the Child, Reach the Family. By the way, that catchphrase has so taken root in Metro West that some people think that's the mission of the whole agency. It's not a bad thing. Right. Some early childhood programs have said to us, we love that phrase. Can we put it on our stationery? Bavakasha, please. That's the whole point. The point is for you to imbibe this strategy, and if it resonates with you, use it. And how do we make it resonate with you? We provide the tools and the learning to help you understand why family engagement is such a critical and potentially powerful initiative, not only for you and your families, but for your synagogue, your congregation, for the entire community. So there, we've enlarged the definition of the learner in early childhood, which traditionally may be the 3-year-old. And we said, no. Let's, so you got to tell jokes, Steve, I'll tell you the joke. So a rabbi, a priest, and a minister get together. You've all heard this joke, but I'm going to tell you how it's a mashal and an imshal, okay? The mashal is the rabbi, the priest, and the minister get together. They're saying, our houses of worship are infested with mice, okay? So the priest says, I gave them all an exorcism. And all the mice came back the next day. And the minister says, I called the exterminator, and they all came back the next day. And the rabbi says, you know what, I gave them all a bunch, and I never saw them again. Okay, we know it's a joke, and we laugh because it's half true. But you know what? 10 or 12 or 15 years later, these kids that we thought we'd never see again, many of them, they come back with a little child, and they say, here, teach my child. And we say, whoa, this is the second coming of this kid. We never thought we'd never see them again. And so now we got an opportunity to really work with the whole family. And this is a real big challenge for us. The directors get it, early childhood directors get it. We've been working on this issue for 3 years now. Teach the child, reach the family, how to reach beyond the child, how to engage the whole family. We've been working with this every month for 3 years. We've developed a community of practice of 8 early childhood educators who are dedicated to working on this in depth and sharing ideas with the entire community in real time. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. We came up with measurable objectives. I can get into that if you're interested, about how do we know if it's working or not. And it's hard, I'll tell you why. It's hard because ultimately we need to create a new kind of Jewish educator. We've been working with, thank God, wonderfully dedicated early childhood educators. Our teens have been the beneficiaries of, whether they're congregational schools or day school, unbelievably devoted and talented educators. But if we want to reach the whole family, and if we want to reach teens wherever they are, or early childhood families wherever they are, which, by the way, is our second principle of practice, we are surrounded by teachable moments, and if we want to take advantage of every potential teachable moment, we need youth professionals and camping professionals and early childhood educators and teen educators who know how to extract the Jewish learning from the environment, or how to work with families, how to talk to adults, not just 3-year-olds. And that's really a challenge for the field going forward.
So at this point, what I would love to do is tell everybody who's looking at this video that you've seen something. You've seen someone who's passionate, who's dedicated, who's excited by the work he's doing, who's a thought leader in his community, who has brought his community along in many ways to this new approach. So it's possible, it's doable, it's exciting, and I want everybody who wants to learn more about what's happening in Metro West, you can go to the website thepartnershipnj.org, all one word. I want to thank Bob so much for his spending some time with us today. I think we'll be hearing from him again in later forums, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks so much, Bob.